FairTax is coming, don't stand in the way. FairTax is coming, cause of you.
Hello and welcome to the June-July update of the Florida FairTax Educational Association. I'm Ron Malero.
I'm Elaine Malero.
I am, this is actually my last day as president of the Florida FairTax Educational Association.
And my last day as secretary.
All right, the board has voted at our behest to get somebody else to lead, and we will talk about that later, and we'll have an interview with the new president, so stick with us. A couple of things before we get to that interview, okay? The FairTax pledges.
Yes, as you know, we've been doing FairTax pledges, candidates pledges, which simply states that the candidate, if elected, will sponsor, co-sponsor, and support the FairTax. And we have a few here from Florida, and excuse me for putting on some glasses here so I can actually read. We'd like to thank Gavin Rollins on Florida 3, Joseph Mulatto, also Florida 3, Kat Kamek, Florida 3, Ryan Chamberlain, Florida 3, Amy Pope Wells, Florida 3, Dr. James St. George, Florida 3.
Although he hasn't actually signed it yet.
No, we're trying. We're in the process of setting up a photograph,
yeah.
a taping, so that we can actually get him.
But he has said that he wants to sign.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
And Byron Donalds, our newest one, Florida 19. All right.
And don't forget John Rutherford. Did I forget to highlight him?
Yes, you did. John Rutherford, Florida 4.
Yeah. All right. And he's an incumbent. Okay. So now you'll notice that we have 27 districts, congressional districts in Florida, and we've only mentioned about 3 or 4 of them. So we have our work cut out for us. All right. You can help out by contacting your congressman or candidate for that office, because every congressman is up for re-election every 2 years. So this is a good time to remind the congressman or the candidate that the FairTax is a winning issue for these folks. All right, and
if you need a candidate's pledge to take with you to visit a candidate or go to their town hall,
yep,
you can pick that or take that right off of the website.
Yeah, as you can see on the TV
right
here,
there.
You go to fairtax.org, click Get Involved, or just hover over, click Get Involved, and come down to the FairTax pledge, and there it is, and you can download it. All right, you can get it down here. It also has a list of the people who are currently co-sponsors and where they're from. So
if you happen to go to one of their town halls or see them, thank them.
yeah,
They hear a lot of negatives, a lot of complaints. Sometimes it's nice just to say thank you.
yeah. Okay, next issue, FairTax Power Radio. We have some great news.
Yes.
One, this Sunday, July 5th, Bob Paxton and I, the FairTax guys, will be broadcasting live from WTOB in Winston-Salem. All right, if you remember our last few reports, WTOB in Winston-Salem picked up our show several months ago, and they've been running it every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Okay, and they, thanks to Bob Scarborough of WTOB, he's the one that initiated this, and he said at some point we'd like you guys to come up and do a live show. Well, that's going to be this Sunday.
That's right.
July 5th, 2020. Okay, now obviously you're not going to pick that up on your radio station here in Florida, but you can go to their website, which I believe I have on here someplace. Hang on, WTOB980.com. All right, and you can also find them on third-party apps like TuneIn. Okay, so you can listen to our live show. It's going to be interesting because They're going to have call-ins. Now, our theme is going to be declare your independence from the income tax, declare your independence from the IRS and audits and so forth. But when you have call-ins, you really don't know what direction the show is going to take.
You could go on a lot of side trips.
Yeah. So this is their website. Okay, and you can, when you go to this is TuneIn, I beg your pardon. Anyways, you can find it on the WTOB website or on TuneIn, and there's probably others like iHeart and so forth. So we ask you to bear with us Sunday morning at 9 o'clock and listen to us live. And yet, but wait, there's more.
There's more.
Like they say on TV. Bob Scarborough is a real FairTax fan, and he notified us several months ago when we started this whole thing. He's going to look for other independent radio stations that might be willing to run our show. And lo and behold, he's got one, what is it?
In Statesville.
Statesville, North Carolina. Yep, WAME Real Country in Statesville, North Carolina, 550 AM and 92.9 FM. And they're going to be playing, I believe, also Sunday morning, and it might be earlier, but anyways, the point is, there's another radio station that's going to pick up our show and broadcast it to everybody in Statesville. All right? And not verified yet. We're still waiting for confirmation. There's a very good chance that we're going to have a third station in South Carolina. And as soon as we get the verification, the confirmation on that, we'll let everybody know. But we actually have a FairTax Power Radio network. And this is how we're going to do it, folks. This is one of the ways that we're going to get the fair tax passed, by educating more people about the fair tax and what a huge advantage it is to the people over the income tax. Not the lobbyists and not the career politicians, but it's a huge advantage to the people. So we're very excited about FairTax Power Radio, which is the brainchild of my radio partner, Bob Paxton. Okay, he's the one that started the whole thing, and I just went along for the ride. All right, because hey, I'm a retired high school teacher. What do I know about doing radio? So, anyways, but this is exciting news, and like I said, along with everything else, all the volunteers, the Steve Hayes Chairman's Report, Jim Bennett's Grassroots Corner, and so forth, all these ways that we have of educating the public. Here's one more, and it's going to be on radio stations, and hopefully this is just the beginning.
These are baby steps, but every journey starts with little steps.
Yeah, so that's the big news for FairTax Power Radio. Let's remind people to go on to PopVox, POPVOX, all right? That is a great site. I don't have, anyways, I'll put the pop in there. PopVox, POPVOX. It's a great website where you can go and weigh in on any pending legislation like
HR 25.
Yeah, that's a good one. Try that one. All right, now you have to log in with your name and your address. They need your address. You don't have to use your real name if you don't want to, but they want your address because that way they know what congressional district you're in and who your representative and your two senators are, okay? And then you go into in the search bar, you put in HR 25. It'll actually come up with a couple other things, have the number 25. You have to find HR 25, the Fair Tax Act of 2019, okay? And then you can weigh in and you can say whether you're in favor or oppose it. You can write a note of why you're in favor, and I'm sure you'll all be in favor of it, okay?
You are in favor of it,
but
yes.
Also, what else can you do with PopVox?
Well, you can look for other bills that are taxation bills.
Yeah.
And you can tell them why they can stick it.
This is a family show.
This is true. Sorry about that.
For instance, you could do a search on the flat tax. There is a bill on the flat tax. I think it's HR 1040. It has 0 co-sponsors. Okay? Yeah. And you can tell what's wrong with the flat tax, namely that
it'll never stay flat.
Absolutely.
Ever.
Yeah. It won't stay flat any longer than it takes the ink to dry. Okay? And Congress and the lobbyists will be working on it to make it unflat again.
Immediately.
Yes, immediately, if not sooner. Yep.
Yeah.
So PopVox is a great website to go to. And then we have Amazon Smile. Okay?
If you're stuck at home or you don't feel safe going out yet, all right, and you don't want to go to those crowded stores, which aren't that crowded right now, but anyway, and you go on to Amazon to order something, go to Amazon smile.amazon.com, and then you can look whatever you want to and buy whatever you want to, and a small stipend from everything you purchase will go to the Florida FairTax Educational Association.
Yep.
So we get a pretty good little penny from this for our organization, and of course that helps us with all of our expenses. So
yeah.
anything you can do to help with expenses, we're always grateful for.
Yep. And because we do have expenses, we have websites, we have promotional materials, we get out to our leaders and so forth. We do have a certain amount of expenses. So we always encourage people to, when possible, buy local. It's very important. Buy local, support your local community. But
Yes, definitely.
the internet shopping is very, very popular. So when you find yourself on Amazon, like Elaine said, go to smile.amazon.com first. So it's very simple to subscribe. Took me about 2 minutes to
Very
log in.
easy.
Very simple.
Ask a couple of questions, you answer those, and you're in.
Yep.
That's very quick.
Yeah, and it'll ask you if you want to forward your stipends to a 501c3, and
we
Florida
are.
FairTax is a 501c3. Okay, so that's a good way to do it. Okay, and that is about all I have, except for our interview with the new president, the upcoming president of Florida
Well, before
FairTax.
you get into that,
Yeah.
if anybody read last week's chairman's report from Steve Hayes, please, if you haven't read it, read it. It's wonderful. One thing that I discovered was that every representative has approximately 747,000 constituents.
Wow.
That's a lot of constituents. And most of them, unless you put some money under their nose, aren't going to pay any attention to you because they want the money for their campaigns, because they have every 2 years.
Yeah.
So they spend a good year campaigning for every 2-year cycle. But so Steve has a couple of suggestions of what you can do. One of the things he said, and he was talking to Senator Russell Long, and I'll quote Mr. Long, and he said, if you don't have a lot of money to wave in front of your representatives, then create a situation where he or she will have to address your concerns just to shut you up.
That's good advice.
They can ignore emails, they can ignore letters, they can ignore a lot of things, but they cannot ignore phone calls. Somebody has to answer the phones. So if you have a compunction to call these people, call them at the local office. Tell them that you were in favor of the fair tax. Give them 1 or 2 examples. Ask them why they, whether or not they are in favor of it. If they say no, ask them why.
Yeah.
And they'll probably give you some standard, well, it needs more research. Don't ever fall for that. We've had over $22 million worth of research on this thing.
Yeah.
It's the most heavily researched tax bill ever to be proposed. So don't let them fool you on that one. That just means they haven't really studied it.
Yeah.
And Jefferson, I'll leave you with this one quote from Thomas Jefferson. A majority is one man with courage. Don't ever think one voice does not count. It counts.
Yeah, I encourage you to if you're not getting Steve Hayes' weekly chairman's report, go to fairtax.org, the national site, fairtax.org, sign up with your name and information. You will not get spam because you signed up there, and you will get the weekly emails, one from Steve Hayes, and he always takes one subject and drills down into it deeply. It's very good. And grassroots report from Jim Bennett, and a little report from the FairTax guys about this week's episode. So right now we're going to pause a little bit, and we're going to get Paul up here, and then we'll be right back. Okay, and we do have Paul Livingston on the big screen here. All right. Paul is, as of tomorrow, the president of the Florida FairTax Educational Association. He's been with the Florida FairTax Educational Association longer than Elaine and I have.
That's
He's
right.
one of the founders of this organization. So he's been at this a long time. A true volunteer. Paul, take it away.
Hello, Paul.
Thank you, Ron and Elaine. I've been a FairTax volunteer since 2005, and I learned about it through Neil Bort. But first of all, I want to wholeheartedly thank you and Elaine for your 3 years of service and dedication to the FairTax cause.
Oh.
So we all appreciate your time and efforts. Most noted is the FairTax guys and their family videos to spread the FairTax word. And we understand that there's you and Bob and Elaine is part of that threesome team. You are true experts and salesmen for the FairTax. And why, and answering that question of why we need real true federal tax reform.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I just want to say thanks again to your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
We do appreciate it. It was, I'll say it's a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. It's been a lot of work, and it's been a work in progress. But it's a very valuable cause, and I feel deeply because of my children and my grandchildren. That's why we need to get it done.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, we look forward to your continued commitment and service as the FairTax guys and
Thank you.
board members of the Florida FairTax Educational Association.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will carry on.
And tomorrow is my first day as president, and I welcome this opportunity and challenge. Our mission does not change. And our mission is that of informing and educating the citizens of Florida on the alternatives to the current federal income tax system, and a system based on the following principles of fairness, simplification, transparency, pro-economic growth, and revenue neutrality. And as you know, we are nonpartisan. We look for politicians and political parties to support our cause. And between now and the November presidential election, we have an unusual challenge, and that is getting all the major candidates that are running for Congress, that includes every U.S. representative and senator, to sign the FairTax candidate pledge.
Yeah.
To, if they get elected or reelected, to become a co-sponsor of the FairTax bill, H.R. 25. And we need salespeople and leadership to get this done.
Yep.
And I ask all of you to reach out to me as to how you want to volunteer. And I can be reached, first of all, at my mobile number, 904-735-7565, and my email address of Paul4, that's F-O-R, Paul4Fairtax@yahoo.com. Now, according to one co-sponsor of the FairTax, that's the U.S. Representative in Florida District 4, John Rutherford, when he signed the co-sponsorship pledge, he said that he sees the battle of the 21st century being one of capitalism versus socialism. And socialism is defined as government ownership and control of production. On the other hand, capitalism is about free markets and individual freedom and liberty. To understand this, let's take a look at China and ask the question, how did this poor, backward country become one of the economic powers of the world? Back in 1978, or before 1978, every Chinese citizen was employed by the government. That year, the government enabled self-employment in small businesses to be possible for the first time in a long, long time. China history goes back a long time ago, but in recent modern times, China has been a dictatorship, a communist country. They were when they did this, they took on the ways of capitalism to a degree. And in 1984, they took another step. They opened up what they called special economic zones, which still exist today and are responsible for most of the growth of China. These economic zones are free of the income tax, of tax duties, of import duties, and other government regulations that deter and hamper progress in production. By 1998, self-employment, or state employment, had dropped to 60%. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
60% was still employed by the government.
Wow.
But 40% were working for themselves. And by 2010, the government employment had dropped to 19%. So now we have 81% of people working for themselves. Now, does that explain to you the powers of capitalism, free markets, free liberty? This history tells us that the greater good is best served by individual freedom and liberty. It is not served by government power and control. And the fair tax is all about individual civil rights, freedom, and liberty. And it moves the tax base from a base of production to a tax base on consumption. And without production, there is no consumption because there's nothing to buy and nobody has anything to buy with. Now, in that story about China, it is no endorsement of communist China. It is an example of capitalism versus socialism. Two extremes, really. When you take a look at the USA before 1913, we were a free country. Our Constitution protected us from direct taxation.
Yep.
In 1913, they passed the 16th Amendment that enables direct taxation. With that came a tax on income, a tax on jobs, a head tax on jobs, the IRS, and tax withholding. So, with that 16th Amendment, we started a slow progression from capitalism to socialism. And the fair tax is the solution to this problem. But talking to people, some people, talking about the fair tax, some people say it'll never get passed. And other people ask me, will it get passed? Well, sometimes a question is best answered with another question.
Great.
That question is one of, do you want the fair tax to be passed? And with that question, I ask that question of you and every listener, every viewer. the actions that you take, what actions are you going to take to get the FairTax passed? We need contributions. We need funds to amplify our voice. We need salespeople to spread the word, and we need leadership to build the organization. What is your next step? Please reach out and call me again at 904-735-7565 or email me at paul4fairtax@yahoo.com. Thanks for listening, and stay well, my friends.
Thanks, Paul. And by the way, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
According to Facebook, Elaine just told me, according to Facebook, you're 20 years old.
Yeah, I've tried that birthday some 51 times.
Well, congratulations on your birthday, and congratulations on your appointment.
Yeah, and we will do everything to make this happen. So that's our report for June and July of 2020, and we'll be back sometime with another report. We'll figure out just how we're going to do this.
We got to talk to the new president.
Yeah. We'll talk to the boss here. So thank you very much, and please share this video with everybody you know, okay, in Florida. It's really important that we get people on board. So thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks for everybody in Florida, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Have a happy 4th of July, guys.
Yes, happy 4th.
Happy Independence Day. Yes,
Yes, definitely.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.